Have you ever smiled while something inside you was silently screaming? In the village of no mirrors, everyone wore masks so perfect that no one remembered their real face. Porcelain expressions with painted eyes and eternal smiles. No one cried. No one stumbled. No one revealed. On the outside, beauty. On the inside, a fine dust covered each heart like a room sealed for decades, and anyone daring to remove their mask even for a moment would feel the chill of abandonment. Others would turn away as if truth were too ugly to behold. A woman named Lyra had worn her mask since childhood. It was shaped by her mother's hands, her father's fear, and the silence of her school. She learned to smile without joy, to be strong without choice, to please so she wouldn't disappear. But every night as she lay down, something ached. Not the body, something deeper, like a light flickering low, like a mirror breaking without sound. Lyra began forgetting what she loved, how her true laughter sounded, what made her eyes light up. All she did was survive, and with each passing year, her skin grew colder, her eyes dimmer, her mask harder to remove. No one noticed. They were all too busy keeping their own facades intact. Until one day a child looked at her and said, "You look like a sad statue." And that was like a gust of wind across the desert, a breath that stirred something buried deep inside her. Because Lyra knew it wasn't sadness, it was absence. She was slowly ceasing to exist, and deep down she also knew she wasn't the only one. That night Lyra couldn't sleep. She sat on the cold floor of her room, holding the mask between her fingers like an old photograph. For the first time in a long while, there was no one left to impress, no role to perform, no voice to mimic, just her. Her and a silence heavier than 1,000 words. The mask seemed to smile back at her, a smile that no longer belonged. It was beautiful, yes, admired, praised, worn on countless stages of life, but it hid a face she could no longer name. Who am I without this? She wondered. And in that wondering, something cracked. A quiet snapping like old wood giving in to rain. Outside, the wind brushed the windows like a soft weeping, and Lyra began to ask herself how many of her choices were truly hers. How many yeses were born from the fear of saying no? How many times did she laugh just to seem strong? The silence answered with memories. Old scenes, forced gestures, cold hugs, words spoken to please. A parade of unseen wounds. Then it hit her. The mask wasn't protecting her anymore. It was consuming her. Every time she said, "I'm fine," when she wasn't, her soul pulled back a little more. Every time she smiled to be accepted, a shard of truth shattered. The mask wasn't just a disguise. It had become a cage. And in that dark room, Lyra understood something no one had ever told her. The most dangerous protection is the one that hides who you truly are. She didn't cry. But something inside began to soften like snow beneath winter sun. And for the first time, she longed to know what it would feel like to live without any mask at all. In the days that followed, Lyra began to observe, not the world, but the tiny gestures she made without thinking. The way she adjusted her hair when being watched, the tone she adopted around familiar faces, the compliments she gave without feeling them. It was like watching a play she had rehearsed for years, one where the plot no longer made sense, but now she saw the invisible strings, and each of them led back to the mask. She tried to remove it, alone, in her room, in front of a dusty mirror that barely remembered her. Her hands trembled. What would be there, behind the disguise? A stranger's face? A hollow void? Or perhaps a wound left unhealed? The mask wasn't just a thing. It was part of her skin. To take it off hurt, like peeling away a second layer grown over the soul. One morning, Lyra stepped outside without it, walked the streets with a bare face, unguarded eyes, lips unshaped by performance. She felt exposed, like walking barefoot across broken glass, and people didn't quite know what to do. Some looked away, Others smiled awkwardly. An old woman called her brave, but with more fear than praise. And she realized, honesty unsettles more than beautiful lies. Still, something inside her gained color, a quiet warmth rising in her chest, a flicker of truth that, though shy, was more alive than any role she'd ever played. It wasn't about showing herself to the world. It was about finally seeing herself, facing, without decoration, what remained after all the versions were stripped away, and what remained was still breathing. By the river that traced the village's edge, Lyra met an old man who spoke little and listened much. People said he collected buried secrets, and his presence made time move slower. She sat beside him, silent, face bare, eyes still tender from the winds of truth. He asked no questions, only handed her a weathered wooden box, small, carved with leaves, a rusted key tied with thread. Lyra held the box with both hands, as if it were too fragile to name. "Open it when you're ready to forget who you pretend to be," he murmured, never meeting her eyes. She tucked the box away, slept with it under her pillow, afraid of what it might hold. For deep down she already knew, what's locked away isn't what we hide from others, but what we hide from ourselves. The old man gave no advice, just a mirror with a lid, and a key that turned inward. One night, by candlelight, she opened the box. Inside, just a yellowed piece of paper, handwritten, "When you return to who you were before you had to please, you will find me." The script trembled, like something written from the center of a tear. Lyra smiled, a small, uneven smile, but real. And right there on the floor, she wrote her first unmasked sentence. "Today, I will not pretend." She read it aloud. No one heard, but something inside stirred. A beginning. Sometimes that's all the soul needs, a quiet permission to exist. The days that followed were strange. Lyra felt like someone relearning how to walk. Each gesture a rediscovery, each decision a question. Is this truly what I want? Often, there was no answer, and in many moments, being without the mask hurt more than she'd expected. It was like losing an old companion, even if that companion had been a cage. Some people pulled away. Others approached her with caution, as if she'd changed too much to fit the old patterns. And she had changed. But not like changing clothes, more like shedding skin. A change not chosen, but accepted. Because once you see truth, you cannot unsee it. Lyra began writing letters she never sent. Scattered thoughts, unanswered questions, memories that returned with scent and sound. In one she wrote, "The mask brought me applause, but never peace." And she understood. Peace might cost the approval of others, but it's the only way to approve of yourself. One day, walking through the forest, she stumbled upon a hollow stone. Inside it, something wrapped in cloth. An old, cracked mirror, stained by time. She held it up, not to see beauty, not to admire, but simply to look, to meet the eyes of the woman who had always been waiting beneath the surface. The mirror didn't show perfection, it showed life. And there, among leaves and silence, Lyra understood. The soul doesn't die from a single blow. It fades each time you say yes, when your whole being is begging to say no. And in that instant, she chose to burn again. Lyra did something she never thought she would. She gathered her old masks. All of them.